What's up, everybody? This is an Enlightened Masculinity episode. I'm your host, Yogi Chris, PhD, and this is also streamed to the Ninth Limb Yoga YouTube channel. Ninth Limb, that's a brand that I founded that didn't exist before me. Now, you'll look it up, you'll look it up. If you looked it up, then you'll find that there's other Ninth Limbs. Actually, there's ninthlimbyoga.com, there's the9thlimb.com. I'm ninthlimb.com. I was the first. They weren't there. Doesn't matter, because they suck. And of course, if you just went off websites, mine isn't exactly like the best, but I also don't do that anymore. And we've deleted pages that were, I had a calendar of all the places I taught and, more on my offerings, whatever. You'll still see some of my offerings, and you'll see a bunch of products there. And that started from nil. There was zero at some point. It didn't exist. And then at some point I went to like a bank or something and incorporated myself. So it's Ninth Limb Yoga, LLC. And, that cost some money, made it official, whatever, got a one of these tax numbers for a business tax number. And I still operate out of that. So you get, you send me your PayPals and whatever to yogikris@ninthlimb.com. Now, at some point later, I started doing the business with IMC and have the IMCbase1.com. You probably hear the cars outside. So that came later and was earned in many ways. All right. Well, so the main theme of what was going on was it started from me having a vision of what I thought could be possible and trying to put it together. And there were some references, and the main reference, really the only reference, is the one I made in my own mind. And all the outside references, they get filtered through my senses or whatever and perceptions and become a reference in my mind. And that's the one that I'm looking at. And so I probably made it fantastic, what I thought was possible. And through the help of IMC Nation, the language and the teachings here, and also the translations of how they were applied in other areas, the imagery and the creation and yes, these things like the talk about the feelings and the feeling of the outcome and the feeling of, how you would have it, how you would want it to be. And then creating from that, acting out in that, speaking from that, was what I applied. Just, starting right around me and just building from there. Just, okay, contact this yoga business, contact that yoga business. Now, while that was happening, I was finishing a PhD, and, there were 5 yoga studios in my hometown, and there was an adjacent city, St. Augustine was about 90 minutes away. And I knew some people there or whatever. And that was pretty much the extent of where I taught before I went to India. And perhaps before I went to India, maybe once or twice, my parents lived in Houston, and I was doing some events in Los Angeles with Vince Kelvin, and AZD was there. And so I think there was maybe one studio that I reached out to there and just kind of started from there and had the idea, okay, grow from there. So Google research, who are the places, what are the businesses, what are their the details of what they might need, what they have, just some notes basically after looking at their website. Who's the decision makers that I need to be asking for? What's their contact? Just do the research and put it down so I don't have to do the research while I'm calling. So when I call, I can just stack them all. And, and yes, work out a script. Now I could maybe roll with it. But now also, if I wanted to excel, I would still write down what I think the script would be and then fill in the gaps and make it streamlined, actually. And it does get a little bit too much because there's so many alternatives it can branch off into. So just some generals, just to, get me on the right wavelength in the thinking. And then just exercising and learning the tricks of the trade. Like, you can't call the same place too often, too frequently. Can't, you got to follow through with what you say. So if you're going to promote, if you're going to show up at this time, blah, blah, blah. Get testimonials, pass out some kind of upsell for people so that when they're done with their event with you, that they can just, do more with you. And, there's just all that business strategizing and following that through and making that my sole source of income for 2 or 3 years. took a lot of facing my own character flaws and selling, and also in business and my integrity with that. And that was what prepared me to do what I'm doing now. This is an extension and evolution of what I was doing. Nobody handed me a list to contact IMC Nation guys. I went out and found them. I stayed in communication. I made the lists of my own. I kept track of when I contacted them and where they were on the straight line. And I studied Jordan Belfort, just like AZD recommended. Later, actually, I didn't study that until our base had formed. So that just goes to show you that what we learn in IMC is enough. Anyway, I'm going to make this car ride. So I'll see you guys. That was a real brief talk. Hopefully some motivation, inspiration.